New to real estate, thinking about getting licensed, wondering what you can expect over your first 90 days? I'm Joe Locicero here at 54 Realty, about to give you a roadmap on what to expect over your first 90 days in real estate. Thinking about getting into real estate or newly licensed, wondering what you can expect out the gate? I'm Joe Locicero here at 54 Realty, and I'm here to tell you what to expect over your first 90 days in real estate. First, mindset and goal setting is going to be very important. Figure out right out the gate exactly what you're looking to do. Mindset and goal setting. It's very important that you have the proper mindset. You're going to have a lot of highs and lows when it comes to real estate, so you want to try to stay as positive as you can throughout this process. Knowing that it is going to be a process and there's going to be a lot of learning that gets involved, and most of your learning is going to be done in the field, and you're going to pick that up through experience. It's also important to not only set goals, but have realistic goals, because you don't want to get to a point where you become discouraged or negative because you're not out there crushing it or shattering these goals that you kind of might have prematurely set without knowing what's realistic. When setting goals, it's also very important to set what's called a benchmark goal and a stretch goal. A benchmark goal is almost a goal that you have to hit in order to require to stay in real estate and something that you're going to build and grow on. The stretch goal is something that you're aspiring to hit. It's more like a ceiling, like how far can I push it? And a lot of times what we find is you're going to hit somewhere in between. It's very important to work on your sphere of influence and build a sphere of influence, otherwise known as an SOI. Let's talk about a sphere of influence. What exactly is that? It's just people that you've come across, whether it's friends, family members, acquaintances, old coworkers, whoever it might be, that you might be able to sell real estate to, whether it's buying or selling, and transact with at a later time. It's very important for you as an agent to work on that database and putting as many names and contacts in there as you possibly can. You never know when somebody's going to transact. It's important for you to be top of mind for when they're ready. Remember, we're working on their timeline. They're not working on ours. So reaching out to your sphere, whether it's going to different engagements, going to events, calling them, texting, email, is going to be critical, and building as many contacts as you can within that database, because that's going to be where your future business comes from. And it's important to continue to nurture that and work on that and grow that database as big as you possibly can. It's important to work on your sphere of influence, otherwise known as SOI. What is your SOI and why is that important? You've probably heard of this term SOI numerous amount of times. SOI means sphere of influence. This is going to be a database that you continue to build that consists of your friends, family members, past acquaintances, schoolmates, colleagues. It's just people that you want to add to a database that you feel that you already have a good relationship with, or potentially you could sell a home to or have them purchase a home through you as a realtor in the near future. Next is lead generation strategies. This one's critical. There's a number of ways that you can go upon generating leads. One is going to be cold calling, door knocking. These are going to have the greatest ROI. You're going to put a lot of sweat equity into this, and it's not for everyone. You got to have a lot of tough skin. Door knocking, cold calling, you're going to deal with a lot of no's to get a yes, but there's not much cost that's involved. So if you're on a limited budget and need to find business quickly, it's a great route to go. Another is working leads. You could buy leads, purchase leads through different vendors, maybe your brokerage, or you could also work leads with a referral fee attached on the top. Another one is leads. Leads can either be purchased, you can pay a referral fee, and might be given as a referral fee from another agent or your broker within the brokerage. But it's just going to be people that are a little bit more warm that you can work with and are going to have an easier time transitioning to a point of contact where you can reach them and meet with them face to face to talk about real estate. When you're going kind of those cold routes, it's a little more difficult to build that rapport. And the leads that you're purchasing, they are engaging. They are actually have some kind of intent where they're going to a website or filling out something and talk about transacting. So there's a little bit of action on their end. Obviously, there's going to come a cost associated with that. So really, when you're kind of going through your different lead sources, whether it's going to be something that you're purchasing or something that you're going to kind of be building on your own through sweat equity, you just got to figure out what's important to you. Whether it's like, hey, I'd rather go this easier path, maybe paying a little money off the top, or you know what, I'll have a little bit more skin in the game, put a little more sweat equity into the system, but I'm going to enjoy the fruits of my labor when that transaction comes and is ready to be finalized at the closing table. Another critical component over your first 90 days is finding out the tools and systems that you're going to be using. There's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, to choose from. And finding which tool and CRM and website that you're going to be utilizing, and finding out which CRM or website you might want to utilize is going to be a process, and you definitely want to make sure that you do your research on the front end to find out which one's going to be a best fit for you. You see, as you kind of go through these processes and set up these systems and websites that you might be utilizing for your business, it's very hard later on to kind of transition to a new one. Make sure you do your research on the front end and find out the best one that's going to be a fit for you. CRM is otherwise known as client relationship management. This is just going to be the hub for your database. This is where all your names go, all your contacts, emails, text message. It's going to be critical that you learn this. This is going to be how you engage with most of your clients. You'll have all their information stored in there. Critical dates also as anniversaries, when they purchased homes, and things like that. You're going to set drip campaigns, follow-ups, touches on how you're going to continue to engage with these people in the future. So that way, when they're ready to transact, you'll be top of mind and they'll be ready to work with you. It's very critical that you pick the right CRM. That's going to be the best fit for you on how you want to run your business, because you're going to spend most of your time as an agent within this CRM, prospect and finding new business. Over your first 90 days, it's very important too to understand the contracts and try to master the technique of the transaction. There's a lot of forms, contracts, addendums that you're going to find once you get into real estate that wasn't taught to you in the class. So it's very important that you take the time as an agent to really understand these contracts, these offer letters, these addendums. What do they mean? When to use them? What are all the legalities? And even possibly speaking to an attorney or going to a workshop with a title company who might have in-house counsel there, who kind of goes over these contracts thoroughly with you as an agent. You're going to want to understand how they work, what the contingencies mean, how they operate, so that way you can ensure that when you're writing these offers and executing these contracts, that you're going to put your client in the best position. And when you're executing these contracts, that you're going to put your client in the best position. One of the things that I value most is training, coaching, and mentorship. And this is going to be critical within your first 90 days. You're going to want to try to find a go-to or somebody who can provide guidance to kind of get you on the right path, or to answer questions on anything that you might have if you're lost or you can't find an answer online or within a book. So it's very important that you have the right mentorship coaching. Usually try to align with somebody that's in the brokerage that you have a go-to, a resource, so they can answer those answers. If you're stuck with a problem that you can't figure out how to solve on your own, it's best to get guidance. Somebody's going to give you more of that aerial view because they've been there before. They've worked through it. They can tell you, what's the worst case scenario and how most likely this is going to play out. I wanted to stress the importance of coaching, mentors, or anybody you can go to for leadership to give you the guidance you need as an agent, because there's going to be a lot of questions that you're going to need answered. Over the first 90 days, you want to figure out your personal branding and marketing. One thing that you're going to want to focus on over the first 90 days is very important, is your personal brand and marketing. What I always talk about with agents when it comes to branding is don't pigeonhole yourself into something with such a small niche that you're not going to be able to get enough business until you're able to become a master in that niche, right? So just find something that your brand wants to be associated with, how you do business, what beliefs kind of are going to coincide with that brand, what's your value system, things like that, or what's the message and branding that you want to portray out there in the marketplace. It's important for you to visualize and see what this brand is going to look like when it comes into fruition, and try to work yourself back on what you need to do now to put it in place. So through your experience as an agent, obviously your brand is going to continue to evolve. It might become something bigger than you ever thought it was. But it's very important for you to kind of work back and start putting those things into process now on what you think you want it to look like. Think of when it comes to your brand too. What's the ideal client that you want to work with? Are you working with properties that are oceanfront? Are you more working in rural land where it's land and ranch or on acreage? What is that niche client going to be? Is it going to be something more like, are you going to be working more in the suburbs? Are you going to be looking more for the condos? Is that going to kind of be your niche? So you might be working with properties on acreage. You might want to work in condos. So it's very critical for you to have internal dialogue and ask yourself these thought-provoking questions to figure out exactly what you need your brand to look like. The last thing I want to talk to you over the first 90 days is accountability. We talked a little bit before about coaches, mentors, leadership, and how you need somebody to lean on. I also feel that you need somebody to hold you accountable. It's very difficult to hold yourself accountable. That's why over my entire career, and still to this day, I've always had coaches and leaders that I've paid for to get me to the next level. A lot of times, if there's a goal that I'm trying to reach, I might fall short because I quit on something, or I'm not willing to put in the extra mile to do whatever it is that I need to do to accomplish that. I can't emphasize accountability enough. You really need somebody that you can trust. You just really need somebody to push you the extra mile. Somebody's going to be there when you're kind of feeling down on yourself. Maybe you don't feel like giving your all. Is going to make sure that you get up and do what's needed. Because obviously there's going to be a lot of highs and lows that come in with real estate. You want to make sure that somebody's holding you accountable, that you're focused on the actions and activities and doing the things that you need to do to be successful. It's a lot easier for us to quit on ourselves. It's much more difficult for us to quit on somebody else. While we're speaking about accountability too, you're going to have a lot of objections that come your way. Accountability is very important. I highly recommend that when starting out, that you have somebody there in your corner that's constantly holding you accountable. And I know we talked about goal setting earlier. It's very important for you to measure your success over the first 90 days. Keep in mind, don't compare yourselves to other agents, whether they're in your class or somebody that's been in the business for 10 years. Measure success against yourself. How's today's version of you as a real estate agent compared to yesterday's version? Are you continuing to improve? Are your activities enhancing? Are you putting in more work? Are you becoming more efficient? It's very important to track this to see how successful you're becoming and if we're improving in our skill set. We constantly say here at 54 Realty, the path is in the math, and the best way to find out if you're closer to achieving your goal is by paying attention to the numbers. Hopefully I was able to bring value to some of you in listening to this episode, and make sure to tune into the next episode where we talk about negotiations and how to ensure that your client's going to win.